A description of the time spent on the path of Allah. So this section, near the conclusion of our series, will deal with a personal account by an individual called Abu Ali. And on the screen you can see where you can find this full chapter to read for yourself. And he describes his journey through Islam itself. And he's a person who is or was very involved within the Muslim community. I will read this word for word. I may add a few comments at times and in specific portions and places, but the majority of it will be the words of Abu Ali. And I give this in the hope that someone who is interested in the TJ could give this a listen and a read to see if it's something that's actually beneficial for them. So it starts, Appendix 2, in Zacharias Pieri's PhD thesis, a description of time spent on the path of Allah. I had never been to Leeds and consoled myself with the thought that at least I'd be visiting somewhere new. But apart from the mosque, I saw very little of Leeds. For the next 14 days, we ate, slept, and prayed in the mosque. I was given a sleeping bag and an ill-fitting cotton shalwar kameez. At mealtimes, long rolls of paper were laid down and curry and chapatis were provided, cooked in rotation by the members of our group, though they only gave me washing up duty. We were told not to discuss politics or areas of religious dispute. So straight away, here you can see the cult-like nature of the group. Your location is changed, your clothing is changed, you're made to look like a Pakistani, long shirt and baggy trousers, as the Pakistani community commonly wear, and you're told what you can and can't discuss. There are 3 red markers right there. It continues. We were even discouraged from discussing the meaning of the Quran. On one occasion, I was sitting with a brother, trying to explain some of the Arabic words to him. We should know Abu Ali is a graduate from the School of Oriental and African Studies. He is fluent in the Arabic language. He's an intelligent person. When I was told, stop, you shouldn't be giving tafsir, meaning of the Quran, unless you're a scholar, said the brother. Just learn by heart the surahs, the chapters the Maulana, the leader, taught us. But then we'll be reciting words we don't understand, I complained. It doesn't matter. You will benefit from your recitation. So you see how location, personal dress, discussion of the outside world in the realm of politics, and discussion of the Quran itself is strictly prohibited here. It's cult-like. I found it difficult to see how one could benefit from reciting words without understanding their meaning, but I soon learned that the act itself was considered a form of worship that would confer blessings upon those who engaged in it. As a result, memorization of the Quran without understanding it is very common amongst Muslims, particularly those from non-Arabic speaking countries. Even those from Arabic speaking countries have problems understanding the archaic language of the Quran. The majority of those with me in Leeds mosques were of Pakistani or Indian origin, and although they had memorized huge passages, and in some cases the whole of the Quran, few could understand a word. This is exactly right. They have no emphasis on understanding what they're reciting, it's just purely memorization. And that really is a problem. If you want to understand what the Quran is saying, you should at least try and understand it. The TJs don't focus on that at all because they view it as being divisive. Memorizing the Quran is not as difficult as it may seem. The language of the Quran has a poetic rhythm and repeated phrases and patterns, such as a sentence beginning with "qul," say, or ending it with two adjectives of God, Certain stories about past prophets or parables about believers and unbelievers are revisited throughout the Quran, so that a sequence one has already memorized will occur in a similar form elsewhere. Children are also taught to read the Quran from a very young age, as soon as they can imitate sounds in some cases, and families hold a celebration called a khatam, a completion, once their son or daughter has read the whole Quran. This is very quite similar to the bar mitzvah tradition the Jewish people have, when they are required to recite a portion of the Torah upon attaining a certain age. I memorized the last juz means part, uh, which is the 30th of the Quran, which has the short surahs at the end of the Quran, which are most commonly used in prayers. I also learnt several other important surahs and verses, such as the last three verses of Al-Baqarah, which is the chapter of the cow, and Al-Kahf, the chapter of the cave, and the verse of the throne, which is found in Surah Al-Baqarah, and surahs such as Yasin and Al-Rahman. Fortunately, my studies at the School of Oriental and African Studies helped me learn the meaning of what I was memorizing. Again, this is an intelligent person. He's an intelligent person and he's trying to understand what he's getting himself involved in. There was one book we were encouraged to understand. It was called The Teachings of Islam by Maulana Zakaria Kandahlawi, a large volume badly printed on cheap paper and bound in a gaudy red plastic. We were all given our very own copy and told to study it when we were not engaged in prayers or listening to talks. I remind you of Dr. Bulbul Siddiqui's work earlier in the series. This book, the works of Kandalawi and Muhammad Ilyas and Zakaria, this is the cult's main text, and these texts are problematic, and I will go through these texts with a fine-tooth comb explaining how they're problematic in the upcoming series. This book was the source of many lectures I had heard at the Dewsbury Mosque and over the coming days in Leeds. It related stories of the Prophet and his companions and quoted passages of the Quran. The emphasis was on reaching the utmost state of piety, abstinence, and fear of God. At first, I found many of the stories strange and disconnected from the society around me. One story began with the heading, "The Prophet reprimands the companions for laughing." It read, and I will give this story in the next part because this is quite a long series. Stay tuned.